It's a strange thing. We all want to do good, but have you ever felt like our response to big problems just doesn't quite match up? Well, today we're diving into a really fascinating and, frankly, kind of weird quirk in our brains that explains exactly why that happens.
All right, so let's start with a story. Picture this. There's a big oil spill, and it's threatening about 2,000 migratory birds. It's a horrible situation, right? Researchers wanted to know how much would people actually pay to save them.
And here's what they found out. On average, people said they'd be willing to donate around $80 to help. A pretty generous, compassionate response. Makes sense.
Okay, now for the twist. The researchers asked a different group of people the same question, but they changed just one number. This time, the oil spill was way, way bigger, threatening 200,000 birds. That's not just a little more, that is 100 times the problem.
So what do you think happened to the donations? You'd assume they'd go way up, right? 100 times the birds, 100 times the help? But nope, the average donation was still $80. Exactly the same. 100 times the tragedy, but the exact same response.
And that leads us to the big question. Why? It makes no logical sense at all. Why does our willingness to help just flatline when a problem gets exponentially bigger? What is going on in our heads?
Well, this bizarre phenomenon actually has a name. It's called scope insensitivity. It's this built-in tendency we all have to feel pretty much the same way about a problem, no matter how huge it gets. And here's the key takeaway. Our feelings, our emotions, they're just not good at math. They don't scale up when the numbers do.
And trust me, this isn't just some weird one-off experiment with birds. Scope insensitivity is a predictable pattern that pops up absolutely everywhere. Let's look at a few examples, and you'll start to see it too. So think about disaster relief. You've seen this happen. A story about 50 people trapped in a cave can capture the world's attention. There's this massive, intense outpouring of support. But then a report about 10,000 people losing their homes in a flood often gets the same level of emotional reaction, even though the scale of the tragedy is 200 times larger. We see the exact same thing in the business world. A company laying off 100 people? It sparks outrage, headlines, all of it. But when another company lays off 5,000 people, that's 50 times more families affected. The public reaction barely gets any more intense. It's like our outrage meter just maxes out super early.
And yep, it happens with environmental causes too. A campaign to save 500 acres of rainforest will get people to open their wallets. But a campaign to save 50,000 acres, 100 times more, often brings in very similar donation amounts from each person. Our desire to help just doesn't keep up.
Okay, so if this is happening all over the place, we have to ask why. Why on earth are we wired this way? Well, the answer actually goes way, way back into our evolutionary past.
So here's the deal. Our emotional system is actually pretty simple. It's great at sorting things into basic categories: good, bad, danger. That picture of one oily bird instantly triggers the bad response in our brain. But that alarm bell doesn't ring 200,000 times louder for 200,000 birds. Our brains just weren't built to handle the giant numbers and statistics of modern life.
This quote just nails it. For pretty much all of human history, we lived in these small groups. The difference between seeing 100 bison or 10,000 bison, it didn't really matter. Both were just an overwhelming, abstract idea that meant a lot. Our brains just filed them under too many to count. So this isn't just some fun psychological quirk to talk about. This cognitive bias has really serious real-world consequences. When our feelings can't keep up with the scale of a problem, our decisions can go very, very wrong. Because of scope insensitivity, our priorities get all twisted. We pour money and resources into smaller problems that feel emotionally powerful, while we neglect much bigger ones. We end up treating a crisis that affects thousands of people with the same level of urgency as one that affects millions. Our response is just tragically out of sync with reality.
I want you to really let this sink in, because this is the heart of the danger. When our gut reaction to 100 deaths is basically the same as our reaction to 100,000 deaths, our whole ability to set rational priorities just falls apart. We lose our moral compass for figuring out what really matters most.
So, it's pretty clear we can't always trust our gut on this stuff. But here's the good news. We are not doomed to make these mistakes. We can actually fight back against this bias with some conscious, deliberate thinking. Let's walk for a little toolkit we can use to start thinking in scale.
Okay, we can totally overcome this with a few mental tricks. First, really try to visualize the multiplier. Don't just think more,
Actually picture 100 auditoriums full of people instead of just one. Then use some simple logic. Ask yourself, wait a minute, shouldn't this matter 100 times more? And finally, a really powerful one. Anchor your thinking. Focus on how much you'd value helping one single person, and then consciously multiply that feeling by the thousands or millions who need help. It's all about using your rational brain to deliberately override that automatic emotional response.
When it comes down to it, it's all about this simple but really powerful idea. We have to train ourselves to remember that these big, abstract numbers aren't just statistics on a page. Each number is a person, and more people means we can have more impact.
So, the next time you're faced with a choice, where to put your energy, your money, your concern, remember this little error in our wiring. Don't let your emotions flatten the world. Use your head to guide your heart to where you can make the biggest possible difference. The only question is, now that you know, what will you value differently?